So Michael Popak with a Legal AF update. Trump on trial. Donald Trump and his lawyers have a thing for Mark Pomerantz, the former special counsel, special prosecutor who preceded Alvin Bragg in the Manhattan DA's office investigating the Stormy Daniels election interference case. But you know who doesn't share having a thing for Mark Pomerantz in any of his documents and information? Judge Merchan. Because Judge Merchan just rejected a subpoena that Donald Trump's lawyers issued late to try to get all information and notes about Mark Pomerantz, and particularly about the office at the time by the special prosecutor, special counsel, investigating whether Stormy Daniels committed some sort of extortion or shakedown of Donald Trump in blackmail. Now look, Mark Pomerantz is a, how do I put this, controversial character. And controversial is doing a heavy lift in that sentence, meaning he didn't like the fact that when there was a changing of the guard in his bosses, from Cy Vance, who was the Manhattan district attorney who retired, to Alvin Bragg during that period, because Pomerantz and his partner got hired and got appointed special prosecutors to investigate Donald Trump by Cy Vance. When the new guy got elected, Alvin Bragg, as was his right, because the buck stops with him in that office, not with Mark Pomerantz. He had Mark Pomerantz and Carrie Dunn, his partner, make a presentation about where they were in the investigation. Pomerantz, it's publicly reported, he has a book out there. Pomerantz said that he believed that Trump should be prosecuted, and prosecuted for even more than the Stormy Daniels case. At the end, that's not what Alvin Bragg believed based on the evidence that was being presented that he thought was conflicting, and relied too heavily at moments with Michael Cohen, who at that moment Alvin Bragg was not a complete fan of. He later got comfortable with Michael Cohen. Pomerantz was upset because Alvin Bragg ultimately chose only to prosecute Donald Trump's organizations for tax fraud and business record fraud, which he did successfully and got a 17-count criminal conviction against Trump organization people and Alan Weisselberg 2 years ago. But that wasn't enough for Mark Pomerantz. So Mark Pomerantz noisily exited. He noisily quit. When I say noisy, I mean he wrote a letter and published it and gave it to the New York Times to try to embarrass Alvin Bragg into prosecuting Donald Trump. So for those that say that Alvin Bragg is on a witch hunt, that Alvin Bragg is going after him, that Alvin Bragg is in the back pocket of Joe Biden, Alvin Bragg didn't even initially want to go after Donald Trump, and Mark Pomerantz ended up trying to embarrass him in the paper. Now look, it backfired on Mark Pomerantz. I don't think he covered himself in any glory taking on his boss and writing the book, which only gave an opening to Donald Trump to try to delay things, to argue selective prosecution and biased prosecution and the like. In fact, my colleague, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, formerly of the Manhattan DA's office, has been very, very critical of Mark Pomerantz. So Mark Pomerantz sort of gave a little bit of a gift to Donald Trump. And then when he got subpoenaed by the defense, he objected, as did the prosecutors. Judge Merchan has now sided with the prosecutors. He's quashed the subpoena to Mark Pomerantz, meaning that anything related to Mark Pomerantz, his private notes, his personal notes, his work product, is not relevant to the prosecution and really relates to the internal work papers or mental impressions of the lawyers, which are almost always privileged, whether they're prosecutors or defense lawyers, about their case. My private feelings at a certain moment in time about my case sucks. I have a problem with witness A, and I put that in the file. The other side doesn't get to see that. That's my own private musings, and that's what they were seeking. In fact, when Judge Merchan, I'm going to read to you from the order right now, when Judge Merchan had just issued this order, brand new, a D&O, a decision and order here in New York, he starts by saying that when you look at the appropriate law in the state of New York in criminal proceedings, you say that there must be a entitlement to a subpoena, and that the Court of Appeals in New York, which is the highest court, has held on, this is all on page 2, has held that a subpoena is properly quashed, meaning it won't be issued, or if it's already issued, it will be voided when the party issuing the subpoena fails to, quote, demonstrate any theory of relevancy and materiality, but instead merely desires the opportunity for an unrestrained foray into confidential records in the hope that the unearthing of some unspecified information will enable them to impeach witnesses. Isn't that exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do here? Go rummaging around the private musings and desk drawers and filing cabinets, electronic or otherwise, of the prosecutor, hoping they'll find something that they'll unearth to impeach a witness. We don't allow this type of fishing expedition in court, civil or criminal. And that's what the judge has reminded them in quashing the subpoena. Proper sleep can increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been a game changer for my sleep, and boy, do I need sleep these days. I drink Beam's Dream Powder each night in order to get my optimal sleep. And I gotta say, I wouldn't be recommending this if it didn't actually help me. And today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel, with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk froth and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and the New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code legalaf at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/legalaf and use code LegalAF for up to 40% off. On page 3 of the order, the judge says that Pomerantz was a special assistant district attorney, a SADA, S-A-D-A, within the New York County District Attorney's Office, that's the Manhattan DA that we talk about, for about a year. The subpoena seeks material from Pomerantz during his time when he was a special assistant DA, with some requests seeking materials up to a month after his departure. They particularly seek, and listen to this because this was important to the judge's decision-making here. This is the part the judge didn't like. The request sought all documents relating to the February 28, 2021 memorandum evaluating whether Stormy Daniels committed extortion and or larceny and whether President Trump was a victim of blackmail. I mean, that's sort of their argument. And Trump would love to find something in the prosecutor's file that says that he was. But that's just, as the judge went on to say, that's work product, meaning privileged. Not, you don't get to know the mental impressions. The judge went on to say on the bottom of page 3, a prosecutor's work product, including those portions of documents which are legal research, opinions, theories, or conclusions of the people or its attorney's agent, is privileged, right? Especially, as the judge said, the defendant uses the term evaluating within the requests. We're not giving you opinions, theories, or conclusions or evaluations. That, of course, is at the highest level of protection under privilege. So what we have is that the judge is continuing to balance the obligations of the prosecutors to turn over information that's both inculpatory and exculpatory, tends to prove somebody's guilt or somebody's innocence. Sure, they have to turn it all over under a long line of U.S. constitutional cases that we refer to generally as Brady material. You got to turn it over. They have turned it all over, but they're not going to go deeper to the next level into the ramblings and ruminations and who knows what of a disgruntled Mark Pomerantz who eventually quit because he didn't think the prosecution was moving fast enough. Lord knows what's in there. Lord knows what's in some of my files about some of my cases at the moment that I'm handling them. I certainly don't want the world or the opponent to see them, and that's what the judge is trying to balance. You get what you need in order to try your case, but you don't get to go rummaging around in the middle of the night with a flashlight into your opponent's work files to find something that you may think you can use in cross-examination of somebody. Mark Pomerantz is not going to be on the stand. The prosecutors aren't putting them on, and Trump has already been denied the ability to put Mark Pomerantz on the stand. So he's not going to be able to do this whole show trial, this whole sideshow in front of the jury to say, oh, there was a guy named Mark Pomerantz, and Mark Pomerantz, he'll tell you that he thought Stormy Daniels was trying to extort my client, and therefore what? Therefore, that's the excuse for the cover-up and the crimes that were committed? If you think here's newsflash, lawyers. If you think your client's being extorted or your client thought he was being extorted, there's a word for that. There's a way to handle that. You call the cops. You go to the Manhattan DA's office and say, I'm being shaken down by Stormy Daniels. You don't pay the cover-up money. You don't record it in your books and records in a fraudulent way. You don't pay Michael Cohen a backdoor way for fake invoices to cover it up and then lie to the IRS as a result and then try to interfere with the election. You don't do that. So I don't know how the whole I was extorted and blackmailed thing helps Donald Trump, since he didn't act as if he was extorted or blackmailed. He acted as if he needed to cover up a bad thing that he did, which is in effect the essence of the crime, because of the way he handled it on his books and records and the fake invoices and payments to Michael Cohen. Right? It's the checks, not the sex, as we like to say on Legal AF. We'll continue to follow the Trump trial when it's on, when it's off, motions filed, things that are handled, violations of the gag order, Trump maybe going to jail, the next set of witnesses, how we think the jury's receiving all this information with our experience as long-standing trial lawyers. One place, MeidasTouch, and on the Legal AF podcast. Did I say podcast? Yes. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube channel. You're here already. Free subscribe. Help them get to 3 million free subscribers on MeidasTouch and build this network with our bare hands. That's what we do. We don't blow smoke or sunshine. We got the audio podcast that goes up right after the video podcast goes up, and we do hot takes like this one about every hour. You like what I'm doing? Go over to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Free subscribe. Look for playlists or contributors, Michael Popak. You'll find my entire body of work. There's like 1,000 hot takes there, just like this one. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popak reporting.
Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.